I accidentally made a mutant monster and it just escaped. Now it's out here somewhere in this forest. You see that? There it is right there. What is that? Oh no! It all started out pretty normal, as every mob has special properties, and we can see these properties by using a command. These are known as NBT tags. NBT stands for Named Binary Tag, and a update this week makes it so that these tags can transfer over when the mob is converted into a different form, like a villager into a villager zombie. And in my Snapchat review video earlier this week, I showed how this can be used to make some new rare mobs. One of these NBTs is the attribute for the speed. Now when a zombified piglin walks around, it normally walks at a pretty slow pace. But if we compare this to a piglin, you might not notice there being much of a speed difference. But a piglin walks at 0.35, which is faster than a zombified piglin, which walks at the slower speed of 0.23. So I had the idea to transfer the NPTs of one mob and try to get them on the other mob after conversion, so we can get unique mobs that we normally can't get. Notice that this piglin, which normally walked pretty slow, now after it gets converted to a zombified piglin, it now has the increased speed boost. So if you attack one of these guys, they're going to be extremely speedy and chasing after you. Let's see if we can make it even more cursed. A villager, which has a speed of 0.5, which is really fast, can be converted into a zombie villager, which normally has a speed about half of that. So if we release this villager zombie, and if we place down a villager, you can see how fast it can actually move. It moves extremely fast, so I can actually chase after and catch up to a villager and kill it. But we all know how baby zombies are even faster than adults to start with. So what if we convert a baby villager into a baby zombie? So let's release this baby zombie onto a villager. Oh my goodness, look how fast that thing is! It's like insanely fast. Oh my goodness, there's no way you're gonna survive that. The only time it stops is when it has to recalculate where you're actually at. Now if Filza is scared of baby zombies killing him in his hardcore world, he will definitely be afraid of this one. We can also transfer the speed from a pig over to a zombie pig, although it's just marginally faster. We also can turn a villager into a witch, and it doubles their walking speed. But since they had different speeds for different things, when it comes to certain types of attacks, sometimes they won't use this faster speed. We can also do the opposite by curing a zombie villager, so that we can take the slow walking speed of the zombie and apply it to a villager. So now this villager zombie has made this villager a slower villager. So let's go ahead and release it. Look how slow it walks around. Oh my goodness, it's so slow. This poor villager would not survive in the wild. A zombie could easily catch it. I guess you can make it so your villagers are less likely to run away from you. Now leave a like on this video, otherwise this villager will be zombie food. There's also a special attribute called follow range. Now zombies typically can find villagers up to 35 blocks away from where they are. So despite the zombies spawning way over there, it can track all the way over here to try to attack this villager. But villagers themselves can only track up to 16 blocks. So if we take the villager's properties and apply them to zombies, notice how the husk will lock onto the villager and raise its hands up a total of 35 blocks away from it. Where the villager that we converted into a zombie won't raise its hands up until it gets past the 16 meter mark, and there it's actually within the follow range. We can also do the opposite with a villager zombie, so we can take the very large follow distance of zombies and apply them to villagers. So now this villager can follow things out twice as far as normal, which could be pretty helpful. But I couldn't quite figure out what the follow range actually does. The best we can figure is that it's the maximum distance they can pathfind out before they have to recalculate. So if you know what it does, let me know, as it has changed between 1.20.1, where they used to have a base of 48 blocks, down to a base of just 16 in 1.21.2 snapshots. But this change hasn't seemed to break anything that I've noticed. These special villagers also adapt the tag for knockback resistance, which is on zombies, although this number is really low, so you don't really notice it. Now typically, villagers can pick up loot, such as farmers can pick up different types of crops. The thing is, I converted this villager from a zombie who did not have the pick up loot tag set to 1, which is like most zombies. And because of that, now we have a villager that cannot actually pick up any loot. This could be useful in villager crop farms where you have other villagers throw their crops towards one villager, and you typically don't want that one villager to pick up the loot. Instead, you want to pick it up using your hoppers so you can store it away. And because these villagers cannot pick up any food, that also means they cannot breed. This also means you can easily make villager zombies that can pick up items like armor or weapons just by curing a villager so they have the pick up loot tag. Now villagers that are converted into witches do not get the pick up loot tag, therefore they can't pick up like a sword. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on other crazy glitches I find. Now let's take a look at what happens when we give these guys armor. Now chain armor is a bit buggy in this version, where its texture is all messed up, but this is what a guy looks like who's in full chain armor. And if we would cure this villager zombie, we'll see that the armor that is being worn by it when it converts into a villager is removed from the game. So if you find a full diamond gear zombie, you cannot get the armor off of it by using this trick. But if you give a villager zombie full armor and then it converts into a villager, the armor that you gave it will drop. But because it was wearing armor, it will continue to have an invisible armor protection with a base of 2. This would be similar to equipping a turtle helmet and getting 1 armor slot on your armor bar. But this can be stacked by adding more armor onto the villager by using this trick I discovered with armor dispensing onto villagers. And if we convert this villager into a witch using lightning, although it doesn't retain the actual armor pieces, it does retain the effects of it, such as this witch now has the boots that can make it walk really quickly in water. Besides that, it also has less oxygen usage and toughness from armor. And somehow I got this witch glitched out, so it's permanently holding this potion. You can also transfer over the attack damage, but it doesn't apply to witches or villagers. Now we cannot do the opposite, making a zombie weaker. That's because villagers normally don't have weapons, so their tag is invisible to transfer over to these guys. But rarely you can get a leader zombie, and along with their leader zombie bonus, they can spawn in more zombie reinforcements, but they also have a max health attribute where they can have way more health than a normal zombie. Where this zombie has 71 health, where most zombies only have 20. And this health of theirs can go as high as 100, although the closer it gets to this maximum limit, the harder it is to find these type of zombies. And this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to get the rarest type of the mob, which I explained in this video here. It not only has a maximum health, but has a whole bunch of other crazy attributes. And if we cure this special leader villager zombie, we can transfer over the max health to the villager, so this villager also has 71 health. Consider joining as a YouTube member to help me put more time into finding stuff like this. And if it's wearing armor before it's converted, it can then accept new armor pieces, such as this full set of netherite gear. And if it's enchanted with thorns, any mobs that try to attack the villager will end up taking thorns damage, while the villager will take almost no damage as it's being protected by its armor and its extremely high health. But one of the tags that gets transferred over is the health. So the health of this villager gets transferred into the zombie form, but the problem is for the villager to convert into a zombie, it has to completely lose all its health. Meaning that the villager will be at 0 health when it's converted into a villager zombie, but that also means that the 0 health is given to the villager zombie from the villager, meaning that the villager zombie will immediately die as soon as it is spawned in. But if we freeze the game right as it gets converted, you can see we do get a villager zombie, but as soon as the game goes forward, you can see it starts to die. But if we happen to heal this dying villager zombie, we end up with a undying mob. Because it was healed on server side, the server thinks the mob is still alive. But client side, which is your character, thinks the mob is dead, and that's why it appears like it's constantly dying. Now most likely this bug will be fixed in the full release. Otherwise you will never be able to cure any villager zombies. And even though it appears dead, it is definitely alive. But they also take on the properties of a villager, meaning that they will drop the same loot as a villager, which is nothing, instead of normally getting some rotten flesh. This also means when the converted villagers are killed, they drop rotten flesh. And witches that are killed can drop rotten flesh or nothing if this has to do with them being given the wrong death loot tables. As you can see, this one says zombie villager despite it being a witch. So it's likely this will be fixed before the full release, but also could mean that some of these tricks I showed today could be changed. So if we combine all this together, we get a crazy mutant baby zombie. Not only a rare mob to collect, but also a cool prank to do on your friends. Learn about more crazy mobs in this playlist here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye!